The elected president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, announced that his government will work for social integration, social justice, and the well-being of the Colombian people. The Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador ratified the continuity of the national strike while announcing mobilizations in all the provinces of the country. In Tunisia, protest continues against possible constitutional referendum proposed by President Saied. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. After winning last Sunday's round of elections, the elected president of Colombia announced that his government will work for social integration, social justice, and the well-being of the Colombian people. After obtaining over 11 million votes in the presidential runoff, the candidate of the historic pact issued a message to Colombians in which he stressed that he will cease all political and legal persecution. Petro also pointed out the importance of dialogue with Latin American leaders without excuses, in order to build better relations between nations and promote commercial and economic cooperation in the region.
Well, it is now a matter of establishing a dialogue in the Americas. Almost all the presidents of Latin America have called me. And I believe that today we can propose, with this triumph that the Colombian people has given us, a dialogue in the Americas without exclusion of any people, of any nation, in all the diversity that is the Americas.
Let's now go live with our correspondent Talia Margarita in Colombia to provide us with the latest a day after Petro's and France's historical electoral victory. Hello, Natalia.
Hi, Luis. Well, to tell you that celebrations continue here in Colombia. As we have been reporting for teleSUR English, celebrations are taking place since last night after we got to know the final results of this historical presidential election in Colombia. Celebrations in the main cities, but also very important to highlight that celebrations have been also taking place in the rural areas of Colombia, some of those municipalities that have been the most affected by the armed conflict here in Colombia, and that right now they are having lots of hope precisely because peace construction and the implementation of the peace agreement here in Colombia is one of the main proposals of elected President Gustavo Petro. Even like 2 hours ago, members of the historic pact, that it's the political group of elected Gustavo Petro, they hold a public meeting with access to media, and they were precisely speaking about the importance and the priority that peace policy it's gonna have here in Colombia during his government. They also said that they want to have a national dialogue with other political sectors of the country and a dialogue around 3 key issues that are social justice, peace, as I said before, and also environmental issues. So this agenda is precisely what is bringing lots of hope among different sectors in Colombia, Luis.
Natalia, without doubt now is a moment of celebration, but looking forward, how do you think this electoral victory will impact the region, for instance in Colombia-Venezuela relations and the US influence in Colombia?
This new government definitely, with no doubt, it's going to have an impact in the whole Americas region. First of all, because regarding the bilateral relations with Venezuela, Gustavo Petro said since he was on campaign for both the first round and the second round that one of the priorities of his government is going to be the immediate reestablishment of bilateral relations with Venezuela. Let's remember that current president, Iván Duque, he broke relations with Venezuela, between Venezuela and Colombia back in 2019. So something that we can definitely expect once Gustavo Petro is in office, in the presidency, is the reestablishment of bilateral relations. Also because he has said that this is a very important issue because Colombia and Venezuela share a border. So there are many different issues in commercial relations, in economics, but including like all the thing of the conflict, that it's important because we share the border. So definitely this is going to happen. Secondly, yesterday in his first speech as elected president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro called for a dialogue in the Americas with no exclusion of any nation of the Americas. He said it last night here in his first speech. He said that also among this dialogue in the Americas, it is important to take into account the diversity of all America's people. So we can definitely also expect that from his government. And finally, regarding the relations with the United States, we have to mention here that Petro has said that he's gonna enable to have a dialogue with the United States, specifically around climate change on the one side, but also a very important issue here in Colombia, that is the policy against drugs. Let's remember that we have here in Colombia the so-called war against drugs, that is basically the plan of the United States since 1998. So we can expect Gustavo Petro to establish a dialogue with the United States regarding those issues, but also regarding, and he has said this during his campaign, regarding the free trade agreements. He's looking to renegotiate the free trade agreements that we have now with the United States of America. Finally, I would like to mention to you that today in the morning, Secretary of State Antony Blinken of the United States of America, he said on his official Twitter account that he was willing to continue the relations with Colombia and to work with Gustavo Petro. And just 1 hour ago, Gustavo Petro said also on his official Twitter account that he has just held a 20-minute conversation on the phone with the Secretary of State, and that they specifically address issues regarding the peace process here in Colombia, and also regarding the climate change. Luis.
Thanks, Natalia, for your input here from the South. We are taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. The Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador ratified the continuity of the national strike while announcing mobilizations in all provinces of the country. The national strike in Ecuador continues for the 8th consecutive day, with at least 6 sectors closed in the capital, Quito, all in spite of the fact that the government declared a state of exception in the provinces of Pichincha, Cotopaxi, and Imbabura. The president of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities, Leonidas Issa, reiterated that the national strike will be maintained indefinitely until the 10 demands that have been presented to the national government are clarified. In this sense, the Ecuadorian parliament will evaluate this Monday the state of exception declared by President Guillermo Lasso a week ago. The session was called at the request of 72 of the 137 parliamentarians who seek to determine the pertinence of the measure in the country. Fernando Cerón, Quito's main cultural center director, confirmed the decision issued by the prosecutor's office.
The last time the cultural center was taken over by the police, it was 42 years ago under the military junta. Now we're under a dictatorship. This center, who has been a house of freedom, a house of thought, a house of diversity, has fallen into the hands of terror. We cannot guarantee the safety of the people who are still at the cultural center. We are going to ask that they be evacuated. We must guarantee the safety above anything else.
In Brazil, José Mauro Coelho has announced his resignation as president of Petrobras, the third company top executive to resign under the Jair Bolsonaro administration. Coelho's resignation comes under heavy pressure from the government and its allies just a month and a half after taking office, and it comes days after the company announced new hikes in gasoline and diesel prices that caused the state-owned oil company's share to fall by more than 9% on Friday. Coelho had already been fired by Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, but he was awaiting the shareholders' meeting to endorse his replacement. Coelho had been accused by the president of being the sole responsible for gasoline price hikes. Since Jair Bolsonaro took office, oil prices have gone up 171%. Presidential candidate for the Workers' Party, Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, finished a campaign tour this weekend. From Macaeo, our correspondent Brian Mears with the details.
During a campaign rally in the northeastern city of Maceió, leaders of the Let's Get Together Brazil electoral coalition responded to recent threats made by far-right President Jair Bolsonaro and military leaders against this year's presidential elections.
Our government's hands are dirty with the blood of Dom Phillips and Bruno Pereira. What makes the commanders of our armed forces think they can meddle in our elections? It's not their role. Elections belong to the people, and the people are showing that they prefer to rebuild Brazil with Lula.
With recent polls showing Lula over 20 points ahead in this year's presidential race, observers from around the world have warned the United Nations that President Bolsonaro and the military will try to enact a coup. But it's not scaring Lula's supporters.
He's always trying to hold the coup.
Anything can happen. We always prepare for a coup, but we are sure that this is Lula's year.
Recent victories of the Latin American left have sparked hope and willingness to fight in most of the Brazilian working class, who are fed up with rising poverty and unemployment and rampant inflation caused by privatizations and senseless liberalization of fuel prices.
Bloomberg says he went to the United States to ask Biden for help. "Oh, Biden," he said, "can you help me beat Lula? The way we are now, he can get Biden, Trump, and anyone else he wants, and we will still break the chains of this country."
As thousands of Lula supporters sang the verse in the Brazilian national anthem which goes, "Beloved homeland, a child of yours never runs from a fight," they looked like they meant it. Brian Mears, teleSUR, Maceió.
The European Union Council decided to extend for another year the sanctions imposed on Moscow for the annexation of Crimea and Sevastopol to Russia in 2014. Citing the statement issued on February 25, 2022 by the head of European diplomacy, Joseph Borrell, the Council cited in a written document that the European Union condemns and does not acknowledge the annexation of Crimea and considers it a serious violation of international law. In this regard, the EU urges Moscow to withdraw its troops and military equipment from the entire territory of Ukraine. Russian government authorities have repeatedly said that the people of Crimea, democratically and in full compliance with international law and in keeping with the Charter of the United Nations, voted in favor of reunification with Russia. Brussels Airport, the largest in Belgium, canceled all flights due to a strike. The measure was the result of a strike by security guards who demand better salaries in a context of high inflation. The airport administration reported that a total of 232 flights were cancelled, affecting some 30,000 passengers. Arriving commercial flights are also affected, with only 1 out of every 4 flights operated. All cargo traffic was maintained. More news after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Tunisia, the opposition to the government of President Kais Saied continued to mobilize in protest against a possible constitutional referendum. The demonstrations was organized by the Salvation Front and went through the center of the capital, watched by a strong police presence. The protesters, who called the new referendum as fraudulent, expressed their demand that President Saied should leave office and listen to the people who are living in an unstable economic situation and poor living conditions. The demonstrations occurred after the Tunisian president fired 57 judges on June 1st for alleged corruption and announced his intention to make changes in the constitution. The leaders of 7 nations comprising the East African Community met Monday in Nairobi, Kenya, to discuss the security situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The third East African Community Heads of State meeting comes as heavy fighting revives decades-old animosities between Kinshasa and Kigali, with the Democratic Republic of the Congo blaming neighboring Rwanda for the recent resurgence of the M23 rebel group. Rwanda has repeatedly denied backing the rebels, while both countries have accused each other of carrying out cross-border shelling. Kenya's presidency said in an official statement that the people in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo have long suffered and continue to pay an inordinately heavy price in loss of lives, property, and elusive peace. The Economic Community of West African States deploys a stabilization force to Guinea-Bissau after the country was thrown into turmoil when its president escaped a coup attempt. The Guinea-Bissau Stabilization Support Mission comprises some 600 troops from Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, General Francis Behanzin, said the mission will last 1 year and is renewable. Guinea-Bissau's President Umaro Sissoko Embalo escaped a coup attempt on February 1st that left 11 people dead. Guinea-Bissau, a small nation of around 2 million people bordering Senegal and Guinea, is prone to coups, experiencing 4 of them since independence from Portugal in 1974. The last one was in 2012. On Monday, the first China Horn of Africa Peace Conference kicked off in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, which aims to tackle peace and stability in the African region.
That this initiative is owned, led, managed, and driven by the countries of the Horn, and China will only play a supportive role, as and when requested.
What we learned from the lessons of history is that the Horn of Africa must not become the backyard of any country. Rather, the people of this region should be the masters of their own country's destiny.
On Monday, Belgium handed over to family members what is left of the remains of slain Congolese leader Patrice Lumumba, a single tooth. This turns the page on a grim chapter in the colonial past of the Republic of the Congo. In a televised ceremony, Belgium's chief prosecutor Frederick Van Leeuw handed the relative a small, bright blue box containing the tooth, and he said legal action taken by Lumumba's relative to get the relic had delivered justice. The tooth was then placed inside a casket that was wrapped in the flag of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to celebrate Lumumba's memory. Lumumba was assassinated by separatists and Belgian mercenaries back in 1961. Lumumba is regarded as an anti-colonial hero. Lumumba's assassination and the brutal history of Belgian control of the Congo have undermined relations between the two countries. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said that his country's authorities bore a moral responsibility over the assassination.
The return of Patrice Emery Lumumba to his country will certainly allow the Democratic Republic of Congo to recover an essential part of its national memory, fragmented by the tragedy of his death. Beyond the Democratic Republic of Congo, an entire continent, Africa, is celebrating the return of one of his worthy sons.
This Monday, June 20th, marks International Refugee Day, with more than 100 million displaced people and refugees in the world. Every June 20th, the United Nations Refugee Agency reasserts the rights of refugees to be protected and advocates for them to be able to rebuild their lives in dignity. The UN agency also acknowledged the courage and resilience of the millions of people who are forced to flee their homes due to multiple causes, including violence spawned by armed conflicts, human rights violations, and political persecution. This date was chosen to commemorate the signing of the Convention of the Status of Refugees by the UN General Assembly. The agency reported that this year the number of forcibly displaced people worldwide has already exceeded 100 million, and they stressed that the right to seek protection is more important than ever. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.